December 14th, 1942. A routine mission over the Pacific Ocean. But what happened next would defy every law of nature we know. This is Captain James Whitmore, 24 years old, a hero, a brother, a man who simply vanished from existence. His plane disappeared mid-flight. No wreckage, no distress call, no body, just gone, as if the sky had swallowed him whole. For 48 years, his family mourned him, another soul claimed by the war. But they were wrong, because in 1990, something impossible happened, something that would shake the very foundations of reality itself. A small-town diner in Nebraska. September 23rd, 1990, 7:47 in the morning. The door opened, and James Whitmore walked in, wearing the same leather jacket, the same young face, not a single day older. He asked one question that would send shockwaves through the scientific community. What year is he? 48 years had passed in the world, but for James Whitmore, only minutes had gone by. This is the story of a man who flew through time itself, a mystery that has never been solved. Welcome to World War X, where history's greatest mysteries come alive. This is the tale of Captain James Whitmore. Our story begins in 1938, in a town so small, everyone knew everyone's name. This was James's world. He was a dreamer, a boy whose eyes followed every plane that crossed the summer sky, longing to touch the clouds. His father worked at the mill. His mother taught school. A simple, honest American family with no idea what fate had in store. And there was Margaret, his little sister, 10 years old, with eyes that followed her big brother everywhere. On his 18th birthday, James made a promise to the stars. He would become a pilot. He would fly. December 7th, 1941. Pearl Harbor shattered America's peace, and James knew exactly what he had to do. He was one of the first to enlist, not out of duty alone, but because the sky was calling him. His mother wept. His father stood tall, and Margaret, she had something special for her brother. A silver compass, small enough to fit in his palm, heavy enough to carry all her hope and love. On the back, 4 words engraved by trembling hands. Always find your way home. 18 months, the boy from the cornfields became a warrior, disciplined, focused, ready for war. But it was in the cockpit where James truly came alive. This was his destiny. This was his first solo flight, the moment when Earth fell away and heaven opened up. He was born for this. By late 1942, he was stationed in the Pacific Theater. The real war, the place where boys became legends. They called him Lucky Jim, because no matter how fierce the battle, James always made it home. Mission after mission, he danced through danger, as if the sky itself was protecting him, as if fate had other plans. His squadron became his brothers. Men who trusted him with their lives. Men who believed he was invincible. But on the night of December 13th, James wrote a letter that would haunt everyone who read it. I had the strangest dream, he wrote, about flying through light, about time moving differently, about seeing everything at once. December 14th, 1942. Dawn broke. Blood red over the Pacific. A sailor's warning, an omen no one heeded. Breakfast was eggs and terrible coffee. The squadron joked about the mission. Just another routine patrol, they said. James sealed the letter about his strange dream. He never mentioned it to anyone. He didn't want them to think he was afraid. The P-38 Lightning. Beautiful, deadly, perfect. James ran his hand along the wing. A pilot's ritual. A prayer to the sky. He climbed into the cockpit at 7:15 a.m. The leather, still cold from the night. The instrument panel, waiting to come alive. 4 planes, 4 pilots, 4 souls about to witness the impossible, though only 3 would return. James flashed his trademark smile, that lucky grin that made everyone believe nothing could ever touch him. They launched at 7:33 a.m. Engines roaring their defiance at gravity, metal and courage soaring into the unknown. The formation was perfect, for Silver Angels, against infinite blue. Rolled in, reconnaissance. Nothing special. Or so they thought. For 90 minutes, it was just another mission. Just sky and ocean and the steady hum of engines. The Pacific stretched endlessly below. Empty. Peaceful. The war felt a million miles away in that moment. Then, at 9:03 a.m., something changed. Something that would rewrite everything we thought we knew about reality. James saw it first. His voice crackled over the radio. Urgent. Confused. "Do you see that?" he asked. A shimmer in the air, like heat waves rising off summer asphalt. But vertical, hanging in the sky like a door. His squadron leader saw nothing. "Maintain course," he ordered. But James couldn't look away. It was calling to him. The shimmer grew, pulsing with colors that shouldn't exist. Light that moved like liquid, like a wound in the fabric of space. "I can't control it," James radioed. "Something's pulling me." His voice was steady, but fear crept at its edges. The other pilots searched the sky frantically, but they saw nothing. Only empty air where James saw the impossible. His plane began to drift, not by choice, but as if an invisible hand was reaching out, pulling him forward. The instruments went mad, compass spinning like a top, altimeter screaming impossible numbers, reality breaking down. James fought the controls, muscles straining, but fighting this was like fighting the tide, like fighting destiny itself. The shimmer opened like a flower, like a gateway, colors beyond description, beauty beyond understanding, terror beyond words. And then James saw it. Everything. All of time laid bare before him. Past, present, future, all at once. His final words crackled through the radio. "It's beautiful. I can see everything, all the times, at once." And then Captain James Whitmore, along with his P-38 Lightning, simply ceased to exist in our world. The other pilots circled for hours, calling his name until their fuel ran dry. But James was gone. No wreckage. No debris. No trace. As if he had never existed at all. Days became weeks. Weeks became years. Years became decades. The world moved on. Time, relentless, marched forward. The war ended. Men came home with medals and scars, but James Whitmore remained on the missing list. Presomed dead. His mother received a folded flag. His father never smiled again, and Margaret kept that final letter like a sacred text. The world transformed. Technology exploded. Fashion changed. Music evolved. Everything James knew became history. Margaret grew up without her brother. She graduated, fell in love, married, had children who would never meet their uncle. By 1990, Margaret was a grandmother of 7, silver-haired and wise, still carrying the weight of a brother lost to war. She kept his photograph on her mantle, a hero frozen in time, forever young, forever 24, forever gone. She told her grandchildren about Uncle James, who touched the sky. They listened with wide eyes, believing heroes never truly die. September 23, 1990. Betty's Diner in Millbrook, Nebraska, a town where nothing extraordinary ever happened. Betty had owned the diner for 32 years. She knew every face, every order, every story, but not the one walking through her door. 7:47 a.m. The bell chimed, and the impossible walked in wearing a vintage leather jacket. James Whitmore, looking exactly as he did in 1942. Not a wrinkle. Not a gray hair, not a single day older. Betty's heart stopped. In that moment, she knew she was witnessing something that defied explanation, something impossible. James moved like a man underwater. Everything was familiar yet alien. The lights too bright, the sounds too strange. His hands shook as he reached into his jacket, the same jacket he'd worn on December 14th. Still smelling of aviation fuel. The ID card was yellowed with age. Issue date, June 1942. But the face in the photo matched perfectly. Impossibly. What year is it? James whispered, and in those 4 words, the universe tilted on its axis. Betty made the call that would change everything. Within minutes, the world would know the impossible had returned. Police, ambulances, officials. The small town erupted with sirens and disbelief. Who is this young man? By noon, the military had arrived. Men in dark suits with serious faces. This was beyond local jurisdiction now. James sat in shock, trying to understand how minutes for him had become decades for everyone else. Time had betrayed him. The questions began. Hour after hour. Test after test. They needed to prove the impossible, or disprove. Italiano, medical examinations confirmed what eyes couldn't believe. This body was 24 years old. Every cell, untouched by time. No degradation. No aging markers. His biological clock had stopped in 1942. And never started again. Fingerprints matched military records. Dental records aligned. Even a birthmark on his shoulder. Everything matched. The skeptics searched for fraud. 4 tricks. 4 explanations. But every test pointed to one impossible truth. Captain James Whitmore had returned, and the world would never look at time the same way again. They found Margaret in Colorado, teaching her class, living a quiet life, unprepared for the impossible. Mrs. Lawson, we've found your brother. He's alive. Margaret's world stopped. 48 years of grief shattered in a single sentence. She retrieved the letter. The one about the strange dream. Memories flooded back like tides. The dream about flying through light. About time moving differently. He knew. Somehow, James knew. She packed with shaking hands, and that photograph of her brother, forever young. The flight to Nebraska felt eternal. Could it be true? Could her brother have returned? She stared at clouds and wondered if somewhere in that endless sky, time had bent just enough for miracles. The facility was cold and sterile. No place for something as precious as reunion. They led her down endless hallways, each step closer to impossible truth. She stood outside the door, gathering courage to face what shouldn't exist. The door opened, and there he stood, a ghost, a memory, a young man bathed in light. He turned, saw her, and time stopped again. Cruel, beautiful, heartbreaking. He saw 2 people in her face, the little girl with pigtails, and the woman who lived a lifetime without him. James's composure shattered. Tears fell. His sister, his little sister, now a grandmother. They held each other and wept. For lost years, for stolen moments. For 2 lives split by time. These hands had held each other in 1942. Now, 48 years later, they held again. Margaret showed him what he'd missed. Parents gone. Lives lived. Years stolen. James held photographs of parents he never said goodbye to. The guilt was crushing. Her wedding, her children, her grandchildren. 48 years without him. A ghost at every celebration. She showed him the modern world, a future that arrived while he was lost between seconds. He held a smartphone like an artifact from another universe. The world had moved on. He had not. Then Margaret reached into her purse, pulled out something that had waited 48 years. The silver compass. Your compass. James turned it over. His fingers found the engraving. But the words weren't right. The words had changed. Time is a circle. You are home. 4 new words where 4 old words should be. Impossible. Like everything else. Margaret swore she'd never changed it. Never touched it. But there it was. A message from somewhere beyond time itself. And suddenly, this wasn't just about a man who vanished. This was about something far bigger. Far stranger. Scientists descended like vultures. Blood samples, tissue samples, DNA analysis. They needed to understand what broke the rules of physics. Theories multiplied. Wormholes, time dilation, quantum anomalies, parallel dimensions, each more impossible than the last. The military classified everything, sealed it away in vaults that don't officially exist. Some truths are too dangerous. Others came with different theories. Not science, but something beyond. Something our instruments can't measure, James tried to explain. But how do you describe falling through infinity? How do you explain seeing everything and nothing? He remembered entering the light, feeling stretched across eternities, compressed into a single heartbeat. Both at once, he saw Margaret's life. Every moment, every choice, every tear. 48 years, experienced in the span of a breath. He watched his parents age and die, watched the world change, watched history unfold, all while trapped between seconds. Then a ding, then the dyna. Minutes for him, decades for everyone else. And no explanation that made sense. The government buried the evidence, filed it under impossible, locked it away where questions can't reach. But James wasn't alone. Flight 19, the Bermuda Triangle. Countless pilots who vanished. Were they all lost in time's cracks? Reports going back decades. Pilots seeing shimmers, anomalies, doors that shouldn't exist. All dismissed. All forgotten. They gave James a new identity, a fresh start. How generous. A man out of time, trying to exist in the wrong century. Margaret became his guide, teaching him about microwaves and computers, about a world that had forgotten him. But at night, James would stare at the stars and wonder, is the door still there? Could it open again? Today, Captain James Whitmore lives in the Colorado mountains. Quiet, isolated. A man who belongs to no time. He's learned to navigate this strange new world, but part of him will always be that young pilot, forever 24. Sometimes, on December mornings when the sun rises blood red, he feels it. That pull, that shimmer, still calling. The same sky that took him, the same light that changed everything. Time is a circle, the compass said. He never flew again, couldn't bear to. What if the sky claimed him a second time? What if next time he never returns? His cabin holds 48 years of borrowed memories. Margaret's children, her grandchildren. A family that adopted a ghost. Margaret passed away in 2019, 93 years old. Surrounded by love, with her impossible brother holding her hand. "You are my miracle," she whispered. "My impossible, beautiful miracle." And then she was gone. Time taking one more thing from him. The only person who remembered him from before. The only one who knew the boy from the cornfields. Now just memory. The compass passed to Margaret's daughter. A family heirloom now. A mystery wrapped in silver and inscribed with impossible words. She swears sometimes. Late at night she hears it ticking, though it has no moving parts. Time remembers. James carries his story with quiet dignity. A man unstuck in time. Forever young, forever searching for answers that may not exist. We may never understand what happened over the Pacific in 1942. Perhaps some mysteries are meant to remain mysteries. Perhaps time isn't the straight line we imagine. Perhaps it bends, breaks, opens doors for those brave enough to walk through. Captain James Whitmore is living proof that our universe is stranger, more mysterious, more beautiful than we dare imagine. His plane sits in a museum now. Missing, the plaque says, but not lost. Never lost. Just somewhere else, somewhere else. Children still hear his story. Still look up at the sky and wonder, could it happen again? Could time break just enough? If this story has moved you, if it's made you question what's possible, then you understand what World War X is about. Subscribe to World War X. Join us as we uncover history's greatest mysteries. Like this video. Share this story, because the impossible is just waiting to be discovered.